I don't care how many asterisks people put over this game, a win is a win. So last night, the Broncos absolutely decimated the New Orleans Saints 33-10. And I know what a bunch of people are already going to say it's because the Saints were injured to hell and back. But the weird thing is that they actually weren't missing as many people as you'd think. They're missing their starting quarterback in Derek Carr, obviously, but honestly, we'll get to that in a little bit. I was going to say I'm not sure how much of a huge difference he would have made for a couple of reasons, but I'll get back to him. And they were missing their star wide receiver, Chris Olave. But that was really it, at least at the start of the game. They got several injuries throughout the game, mainly their two cornerbacks, including star Marshawn Lattimore. And that definitely didn't help, but it's not like the Broncos are entirely healthy either. Hell, we were missing our best player in Patrick Surtain II, and we still decimated their offense like there was no tomorrow. So, let's get into the stats for this game, shall we? Because, honestly, overall in the game, there's just not much to talk about. It was absolute domination. Starting in the second quarter, we only scored 3 points in the first quarter, and that was all the points scored in the first quarter. So it looked like it was going to be a really low-scoring affair. Hell, pretty much everybody I saw talking about the game before it happened said that this was going to be a really low-scoring affair. This was going to be another low-scoring Thursday night football game. And it started out that way, and then we scored 13 in the second, 10 in the third, and 7 in the fourth. And New Orleans got a field goal before halftime, and then they scored a touchdown in garbage time. And this is the second win in a row where we let the team score a touchdown in garbage time, because we also let one up to the Raiders. And both times it was with the backup QB, although in this case, technically it was the third-string QB. So let's get into the stats. Starting with Bo Nix, nothing flashy in terms of passing. 16 for 26, 164 yards, no touchdown, no picks, and no sacks. And honestly, I don't care that his stats aren't flat. Everybody's going to make a big deal about how, Bo Nix is so bad because his stats are very pedestrian. You don't, that's a problem I have, is that people think quarterbacks have to put up gaudy numbers in order to be good. The very fact is that we ran the ball down the Saints' throat. They could not stop our rushing attack today, so it doesn't matter that Bo Nix only threw 164 yards. Hell, I'm pretty sure he threw like one pass in the fourth quarter. So it really doesn't matter that he didn't throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But it seems like, but the weird thing is that's what people expect of QBs nowadays. And you know what the problem is? It's CJ Stroud. And here's why, because he did put up gaudy numbers in his rookie season. But the weird thing is that the thing is, he's the exception. But after that happened last season, and he's continued to be a superstar this season, everybody expects that to be the norm for QBs now. I mean, it also doesn't help that Williams has, the last few games, even though he started out slow this season, has finally picked it up and started putting up big numbers, and so has Jaden Daniels. So now everybody's expecting that out of all the rookie QBs. Bo Nix, and also I will say, he made some bad throws early on, and I know the reason why, and the announcers pointed it out as well. It's because of his footwork. When he sets his feet and he throws the ball, he has really good accuracy. The problem is, especially early on, his footwork is incredibly skittish. And I think even Nix knows it as well. He'll move around in the pocket a little bit, and he won't quite trip over himself while he's throwing, but his footwork will be really skittish, and it causes him to miss a throw. And that first throw he made, that third down throw, where he overthrew Lucas Kroll but underthrew Troy Franklin, they were both wide open, he hit it dead in between. I'm wondering if this happened, where he saw Kroll, or was it Lucas Kroll? Yeah, I think it was one of the tight ends. I think it was Kroll. But he saw him wide open. As he was winding up the throw, he saw Troy Franklin wide open, 15 yards down the field, and possibly getting a touchdown if he catches it. And maybe, as he was throwing to Kroll, he tried to push it to Franklin, and because you obviously can't do that, because that's not going to work. I'm wondering if that's what happened, why he kind of split the difference between the two. He saw Kroll and he's like, oh shit, and he winded up, he's like, oh shit, Franklin's open, and then it just went right in between them. I'm wondering if that was the case. It could be possible that, again, it was just his feet weren't set or something, but I'm wondering if that could have been the case as well. But our running attack was absolutely gaudy last night. 14 carries and 88 yards and 2 touchdowns for Javonte Williams. His first time ever getting multiple touchdowns in a game. Bo Nix, 10 for 75, including that one really good 33-yard scramble. Jaleel McLaughlin, 4 for 35. Audric Estime actually got some carries today because he's finally back off IR. 5 for 29, but he fucking fumbled again. And this kind of hurts as a Notre Dame fan because I got really hyped when they took Estime in the 5th round. I want to say we took him in the 5th round. It was 4th or 5th. But either way, I got really hyped when we took him. And then week 1, he fumbled. He got 1 carry. He got 2 carries. One was a really good run, and then the other one he fumbled. And then this game, he got some really good rushes. He was 5. Just look at the averages. Williams, 6.3 per carry. Bo Nix, 7.5 per carry. McLaughlin, 8.8 per carry. And then Estime, 5.8. The weird thing is we keep running the ball with Estime on like 1st and 10 and 1st and 15. Hell, he fumbled the ball on like 2nd and 15, which pisses me off. He needs to hold on to the damn ball. But here's the thing. I don't remember what running back it was, but there was a guy who once said, if you need a yard, I'll get you 3. If you need 10 yards, I'll get you 3. And that's kind of what Estime is. And hell, he did have a long run of 13 yards, yes, but I don't know why we're running him on 1st and 10. We don't need to be doing that. And then the receiving, Troy Franklin actually led us 5 for 50. Lucas Kroll, 3 for 41, because he had that really good 23-yard catch. That was a hell of a catch by Kroll, by the way. Williams, 3 for 23. Devon Valet, who's finally back, who came back yesterday and got a few catches, 1 for 20. Marvin Mims, 2 for 18. He's finally getting involved. Cortland Sutton did not have a single target in this game. By the way, LeJohn Humphrey, 2 for 12. And then Troutman had 3 targets and no receptions. But Sutton did not have a single target. And again, I've said this, Sutton has amazing hands. He can't create separation worth a damn, though. That's why he's throwing to Troy Franklin and Devon Valet and Marvin Mims more, because they have the speed to get separation that Sutton does not. But let's look at our defense. And again, unlike most times, nothing flashy. We had a total of, we had 6 sacks on the game. That's more than I thought. And this is where I said I don't know if Derek Carr would have made much of a difference. Because Spencer Rattler avoided a lot of sacks today. He looked like Bo Nix, where he has the ability to shift his way out of a sack. And Bo Nix had another one of those Houdini acts where he dodged a bunch of sacks and managed to escape. By the way, basically these things are what Mahomes does, but every time Mahomes does one, the announcers, the media, everybody rides his dick about it. Everybody drools all over it whenever he does it. Nix doesn't, nobody says a goddamn thing. That's why I can't stand the media with the Chiefs. It's like anytime, hell, that's why I can't watch any Chiefs games like on primetime, because it's Collinsworth and Romo. Even when Mahomes just throws a ball away, they make a big deal how it's so amazing that he managed to throw the ball away. Fucking, oh my god. That's why I can't watch any Chiefs. It doesn't help they show that I can't watch them because they always show Taylor Swift. I can't watch that. And Cody Barton, holy shit, he had a big game. I didn't even know who this guy was before the game started. But he had 8 total tackles, 6 solo. He had that strip sack that definitely was a big shift for the game. And then he had the fumble return for a touchdown that got called back for offsides because of fucking course. But then he had another fumble return for a touchdown, which, again, props to him. He had such an amazing game. And again, we had 6 sacks. Justin Stranad had 1. Nick Bonito had 1. Allen had half of 1. Jonah Ellis had half of 1. Juquan McMillan had 1. And then Barton had 1. Is that it? Yep, and our secondary played pretty well even without Surtain. Now let's look at the Saints side of things. Spencer Rattler, bless his heart, he tried, 25 for 35. He threw 9 more passes and completed 9 more passes than Bo Nix, yet had 8 more passing yards. He got sacked 6 times for 36 yards. Again, our defense just fucking destroyed him. He had, like I said, he had 172 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, but he did have 2 fumbles. Technically 3, if you count that other one. And then Jake Haener came in 3 for 4, 38 yards and a touchdown. He came in garbage time when they were on our side of the field. So the Saints rushing, Alvin Kamara did fuck all this entire game. Like, compare our rushing stats. We had 35 carries for 225 yards. Actually, 33 for 227, because I hate that they include this in the stats. Jarrett Stidham, 2 carries for -2 yards, which were the fucking kneel downs at the end of the game. I don't understand why they include those in the stats. What's the point? So really, we had 33 carries for 227 yards. They had 21 carries for 97 yards. We averaged 6.4 yards. They averaged 4.6. Kendre Miller was their highest rusher, 6 for 36. Rattler, 5 for 34. Jamal Williams finally got a few carries, 3 for 17, which isn't bad. And then Alvin Kamara, we just kept him from doing anything. 7 for 10 yards. Alvin Kamara, who is hyped as one of the best running backs in the game, 1.4 yards per carry. And then there's the receiving. Cedric Wilson was their highest receiver because they were obviously missing Chris Olave, 6 for 57 and that touchdown at the end. I haven't even heard a lot of these people. Like Mason Tipton, Juwan Johnson, Kendre Miller. I mean, Bub Means I only recognize because I saw some stats of his last week, but up till then I didn't know. The only one I really recognize other than Alvin Kamara is Foster Moreau. He had 2 for 38. So, yeah, not great. And then their defense, they just couldn't do anything against They just couldn't do anything. Though I said that our biggest weakness at the beginning of the season was the offensive line, but I might have to take that back because we are now 7 games into the season. I believe Bo Nix has been sacked a total of 9 times. That's barely over 1 time per game. And hell, the majority of that came in the game against the Raiders where he got sacked 3 times. That's where the majority of those came from. And the weird thing is we are playing super well on the road. We're 4-3 and 3-1 on the road. So next week we have the Panthers, which is the NFL equivalent of an FCS opponent, which means we better fucking beat them. And if we do, that'll put us up to 5-3. Now, after the Panthers game, which again we should win handily, we get some actual competition. Because our next games after that are the Ravens and the Chiefs. Now, our defense is really good, so I will say this. Do I expect us to win these games? Hell no. But if we can keep it competitive with 2 of the biggest AFC powerhouses in Baltimore and Kansas City, I will consider that a win. Because if we win next week, we'll put us at 5-3. We still have a chance to make the playoffs. Will we win the division? I think the Chiefs are too far. Right now, the Chiefs are probably too far ahead. So even if the Chiefs start losing games and we keep our momentum going, we would probably still miss it by a couple of games just because they're way too far ahead now. They're 5-0 and we're 4-3 now, because they've already had their bye week. And then after the Chiefs, we have the Falcons, which it depends on which Falcons team shows up. If they show the team that showed up the first few weeks shows up, we have a chance. If they show up like how they did against, I don't know, we beat Tampa Bay quite handily, and that one was a fully healthy Tampa team. And the Falcons barely beat them in overtime, so I'm not counting us out of that game. If I were an impartial viewer and was doing, and if I was a betting man, which I'm not, because betting's for suckers, I would probably still take the Falcons in that game, but not by much. And then it's the Raiders. This one is in Vegas, but I still think we should win that one. Then it's the Browns, who are a fucking doormat. As long as they keep playing Deshaun Watson, I think we're fine, even though their backup's Jameis Winston. That one's in prime time, too. That's a Monday night game, so we better be able to win that game. The Colts, depends on which Colts team shows up. Joe Flacco's been looking really good, but if they put Richardson back in, we might have a chance. Because I remember in the preseason, when they had the starters, Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, for a few drives, they couldn't do shit. And then it's the Chargers. Again, this one's in LA, so it's going to be a little difficult. But again, last week, if we show up in the first 3 quarters, we win that game handily. Because again, we've lost 3 games this season. And all of those games, if our offense shows up in the first 3 quarters of those games, we win those games handily. I shit you not, like if our offense showed up in the first 3 quarters of those 3 losses, we could legitimately be 7-0 and leading the AFC. And this isn't one of those times where I'm making excuses like, oh, we could have won this game if we did this, if we did that. It's like, we could legitimately be 7-0 if our offense pulled its head out of its ass for the first 3 quarters of our 3 losses currently. And right now, with our decimated roster, we should not have a winning record. People were projecting the Broncos to be a bottom 5 team in the league. And right now, I don't know exactly where we are in the conference. Again, every other team has to play this week before I can really judge that. But I think right now, we're fighting for the last playoff spot. Like, if the season ended today, we would be fighting for the final wild card spot. And that is not what should be happening with our decimated roster and everybody saying we were supposed to be a bottom 5 team. This team is big time overachieving, and I'm okay. And also, as far as us playing the Ravens in a couple of weeks, they lost to the Raiders. Yes, really. So again, that game, I'm not counting us out of any game. Now, again, do I expect us to beat Baltimore and Kansas City? No, but if we can keep it close, then I think that's a big stepping stone for this team. And again, this is supposed to be a rebuilding year, and we have a winning record. That's insane. And the Commanders are largely doing the same thing. But again, we're not as good as the Commanders. I'll say that much. The Commanders are just absolutely insane right now. Holy crap. But yeah, I'm actually very optimistic about the rest of this season. Again, it would still be a miracle if we made the playoffs. But really, hypothetically, looking at a lot of these games, we could make the playoffs. Say we need 9 wins to make the playoffs. We get Panthers, which would put us at 5. If beat the Raiders, it'd put us at 6. Browns put us at 7. Maybe the Falcons, and maybe the Colts, and maybe the Chargers. That would be more than enough to get us into the playoffs. Because I think if we win all of those games, and hell, maybe if we even split the series with the Chiefs, which is highly possible, we could be a 10-win team, which is insane. I didn't think I'd actually be saying that. I've been saying this entire offseason that 6 wins would be a success for the team, because it's supposed to be a rebuilding year. We only need 2 more wins, and we have a couple of doormats on the roster left. Like, even if we just beat the Panthers and Browns and nobody else, that would still break the win. Everybody thought we were going to win 5 games. That would still break the win total. So yeah, I've gone on long enough. This was a good win, even if it was kind of a decimated opponent. And Sean Payton got a good win in his homecoming in New Orleans. That's all I got, and I'll see you next time. Bye.